told you to stay away from your sisters.
Oh, don't look at me like that, Ed. It's not my fault that you're a pervert.
Just take a look at this place, this dark, dreary, dank location here. This is the bedroom of young Edmund Kemper.
At the age of 8, my mother determined I shouldn't be sharing a bedroom with my younger sister anymore, and she moved me to the basement.
She was afraid of him. She hated him. He looked too much like her ex-husband, who she despised. And as he lived down here with just a cot to sleep on, he developed this hostility to where he wanted to destroy his mother, wanted to destroy his sisters. He stole his sister's dolls from upstairs, and he ripped the heads off. He ripped the arms off over and over again, visualizing that these were real people. Years and years later, this fantasy would take the next step, tearing the heads and limbs off of real living beings, college co-eds, and then discarding their bodies throughout the coast of California. This is the origin of a killer next door. My name is John Douglas. As an FBI agent, I studied hundreds of serial killers and talked to many of them face to face. When I joined the FBI's Behavioral Sciences Unit in 1977, my job was to decode the minds of America's most notorious serial killers using a brand new approach called criminal profiling. Officers from all over the country, they're bringing in cases. How can we understand the cases if we don't talk to the bad guys? This study was about understanding different patterns of criminal behavior. The purpose of the interviews was to learn from the offenders. We realized that we got a gold mine here. Y plus how equals who. No one had ever done that before. Ed Kemper got the name co-ed killer from the newspapers because his primary victims were co-eds associated with the University of California at Santa Cruz.
In the early 1970s, Santa Cruz was extremely tense. To be a woman during this time period would have been extremely scary.
It's not far from here that just a week ago today, 4 more bodies were discovered in a connected series of murders that now numbers at least 10.
Bodies were appearing everywhere. People went missing, bodies were coming up on the ocean.
The area in and around the campus had become a killer's hunting ground. Ed Kemper was identified only after he confessed, and he was the first serial killer I ever interviewed face-to-face for the FBI's Behavioral Sciences Unit. His crimes were some of the most grisly I had ever seen, and I wanted to know how and why he chose his victims and what made him tick. I need to know the fantasy and how it begins and why it begins. And how could someone commit such horrific crime against others? And was there a triggering mechanism that did it? Was he born this way, or was he made to be who he is today? Kemper's parents, his mom Clarnell and his dad, also named Ed, were divorced when he was very young and his mom had custody. When Ed was 8 years of age and his mother wanted nothing to do with him, she decided to stick him down into the cellar of a house, not a basement, a cellar. His mother would treat him horrifically. He spent his elementary years locked in that dungeon of a cellar, and he had these dark fantasies staring into the fire of the furnace. His younger sister, he would play games with her. He'd play like electrocution, where he would act like he was in an electric chair and she would turn on the switch and he would writhe in pain. He wanted to go see his dad. But the father really doesn't want too much to do with Ed at all. So his idea now is to ship him to the paternal grandparents in Northern California. But things weren't too good there. And he's had these flashbacks of his mother, as well as his old man, that pretty much didn't want anything to do with him at that point in time. So he decides to go to kill.
One day while his grandfather was at the grocery store, Kemper shot and murdered his grandmother. He couldn't bear the idea of his grandfather finding his dead wife, so Kemper shot him in the back of the head.
The police come, they ask him, why'd you do it? And his remark was, I just wanted to see what it felt like to kill Grandma.
After Kemper was convicted for the murder of his grandparents, he was brought to Atascadero, which is a mental hospital for the criminally insane.
15-year-old Ed was diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic. He was committed for 6 years, during which time he makes a positive impression on the staff at the facility. Upon his release, his records were sealed in juvenile court, meaning he could live, work, and be free. And no one in the general public would know he was a killer. What do? They do the worst thing in the world. They send him back to dear old mom, to Clarinell here, who doesn't want anything to do with him.
You're psychotic. And you know what else you are? Huh? You're nothing, nobody. And you're never gonna be anybody, never amount to anything. You're a freak.
This was the root cause of Ed Kemper's deviant behavior. He didn't have a chance.
You think those pretty girls that you stare at like a pervert are gonna go out with you? Look at you! Oh, you are fucking disgusting, just like your father.
Raised by an abusive, alcoholic, domineering mother that badgered him day in and day out. This was the foundation, this was the background, this was the beginning and the creation of a serial killer. It was only a matter of time before he started cruising the Santa Cruz campus for victims, the kind of women his own mother told him he could never have. And in the 1970s in Santa Cruz, they were everywhere.
In Santa Cruz in the early 70s, there was a very small community in the University of California Santa Cruz campus, and it brought in a lot of young people.
Hitchhiking in the early 1970s was a very common way to get around. These women got in the car with him, and I think he was a fantastic talker. He had practiced hundreds and hundreds of times before he committed his first murder.
Ed Kemper's first murder was on May 7th, 1972.
Kemper picked up Marianne Pesch and Anita Luchessa. They were on their way to Stanford.
It's something he talked about in detail when he was finally arrested. An interrogation I studied before meeting him.
I saw two girls hitchhiking up along the side of the road. They had a sign up that said they wanted to go to Stanford. And these two girls were Marianne Pesch and Anita Luchessa. Told them I was going to Stanford, which I wasn't.
I don't think people realize that it just wasn't a few trips out picking up several hitchhikers. He picked up over 150, and what he was doing was just learning from them. He's developing his modus operandi.
I apprehended both of them. Put one girl in the trunk and one in the back seat, tied her up, and stabbed both to death. Played that even. I cut their heads off. What did you want me just to tell you? I was using a large cutting knife that was a buck knife called a Buck General, and had the original sharpness, factory sharpness on it.
He's able to remember the intricate details of the crime. That's why what you're seeing here is this remarkable memory that Kemper is showing at this time. As he drove home with the bodies of Marianne and Anita in the trunk, a cop noticed that one of Kemper's taillights was out. The officer pulled him over, not knowing there were two dead girls in the back. Back at his apartment, Kemper sexually abused, then dismembered the bodies, then he threw the heads into a ravine.
The bodies were discovered last week on Eden Canyon Road, east of Castro Valley. Both girls had been decapitated, and the hands from one body had been cut off.
4 months after that, Kemper was ready to kill again.
Iko Koo was picked up in Berkeley. That was his third victim.
This was his youngest victim, was a Korean-American girl that I really feel bad about because we were unable to find her complete body, and I had to tell her mother that. When there's young people involved, I think it's a lot harder on investigators because you get to see them, you get to see their families, and you see the loss the families are suffering. It's just heartbreaking.
All this time, during all these murders, he's continuing to perfect his techniques, like how he got Iko Koo into the car. What Ed would do is he would pretend that he was a businessman when he pulled up alongside of a curb trying to pick up a hitchhiker by looking at his watch. What he was trying to do is to indicate that he had plenty of things to do, but he would somehow be able to fit her into his busy schedule. Sometimes he put a fake cast on, which he told me made him look injured and less intimidating. Ed told me he had this maneuver where he would get a tube of chapstick and put it in his hand. And then as he reached over to let the co-ed into the car, at the same time, he would drop that tube of chapstick in this press grip handle. This would prevent the door from opening from the inside. Once the victim was in the car, she could not get out.
I made that a challenge, almost like a chess game. And the more clever they got about checking me out ahead of time, the more clever I got.
There were times where he would kill someone, go to a bar, have a drink or two, while the victims' bodies were in the car, and he would come out and he would pop the lid of the car and look at them as his pride and joy. 3 days after killing Iko Koo, Kemper even had a court-mandated psychiatrist visit, which was required as part of his conditions of release for murdering his grandparents as a kid. Lying in the trunk was Iko Koo's severed head. At that appointment, Kemper was declared to be no longer a threat to himself and others. If only that were true.
Cynthia Shaw was a student at Cabrillo College. She was hitchhiking that night of January 8th, 1973, when Kemper picked her up. Kemper said, "I just really need to talk to someone. I need to talk to someone. I'm feeling suicidal. I want to bring you home, but I'm afraid if the neighbors see you in my car, they're going to talk." He convinced her to get into the trunk of his car. She was adjusting herself in the trunk, and he shot her in the head.
When I spoke to Kemper, he told me after abducting and killing his victims, he would take those victims back to his mother's house and then place them in his closet, sometimes for several days. These were the women that his mother said for years and years, "They're too good for you. You never can have women like this." But in Ed's mind, in his deviant thinking, it was like, guess what, Mom? I can, in fact, have these women. Less than a month would go by before Kemper felt he had to kill again. Rosalind Thorpe and Alice Liu were the fifth and sixth victims of Kemper. Rosalind is a low-risk victim. Here she is on this college campus. She's very, very conservative, not a risk taker, but she took the risk. She took the chance because she felt safe. But why did she feel safe? Unfortunately, at this time, the university was telling college co-eds, if you want to hitchhike, look to see if there's a university sticker. And when you see one, it's okay, get in their car, you'll be safe. Ed said his mother works for the university, and both she and he had these stickers on the car. Rosalind very definitely saw this sticker, so she thought she was going to be safe. Unfortunately, that was not the case. She fell right into the trap. With Rosalind already in the car, he also knew it would make kidnapping of a second victim even easier.
Alice Liu was a very cautious hitchhiker, but when she saw Edmund Kemper approaching in his car with another woman, Kemper said that he felt she assumed that it was a man and a wife. So she got in the back seat behind the passenger.
We're not dealing with an amateur here. We're dealing with someone who's criminally sophisticated. There was a lot of planning involved, a lot of premeditation, rehearsing this.
He shot Rosalind Thorpe through the head, instantly killing her. He turned back and shot at Alice Liu. He shot 3 times.
When the 2 last co-ed victims were being taken to and from the car, I parked it up by the house on the driveway, and I got a very distinct feeling there was at least 2 people looking at me from the window directly above me. And the lid of the trunk was obscuring what they could see in the trunk. But at the time, I was severing the hands of Alice Liu.
He kept their belongings, trophies we call them, souvenirs. He kept the head. The head, he looked at that really as a trophy. The last thing that he would discard would be the head of his victims. There is a rational reason why he is doing the things he's doing. It is to delay the identification of the victims. Decapitation, the head will end up at one location, the arms and legs, torso will end up in other locations. So what does that tell you? It tells you about the degree of sophistication, the criminal sophistication that this killer has.
A sadist wants a person to suffer while they're still alive. We don't see that with Kemper. Kemper did everything after he killed them. That's when he would act.
He definitely had practical reasons for dismembering his victims, but keeping their heads as trophies or sleeping with their bodies in his bed at night were all part of Ed Kemper's signature.
Signature is when in the crime that there is some psychological part of the offender that has to repeat it.
It is something that the offender feels that is necessary to perpetrate the crime. I have to look at more than one case, 2 cases, 3 cases, before I can say, aha, this is the signature here. This is what's linking these cases together.
There was a lot of media coverage, of course, on everything, and there was a lot of pressure.
There were actually multiple serial killers at work in this area within a 20-month span. Police didn't know their names early on, but would eventually identify them. Herbert Mullen killed 13 people, believing human sacrifice would prevent natural disasters. And John Linley Frazier, a mass-murdering eco-terrorist known as the Killer Prophet. Per capita, Santa Cruz was the murder capital of the United States. These cases over here at the University of California, totally different types of victims, totally different methods of killing here. We have decapitation, we have bodies that have been dismembered. These cases over here in Santa Cruz are not related to these other ones.
It was scary. It was a very busy time. We never seemed to have enough time to do the follow-up on the things we wanted to do. And every time we'd start to work on one of our cases, there would be another homicide would pop up.
Things were very tense. It wasn't the sleepy community. It had been just, 5-10 years prior.
The profile of the co-ed killer is a white male. He is of the organized type, which means to us who work these cases, he plans his crimes, leaves little evidence at the scene. He's perpetrating his crimes in an area where there is this familiarity to him, so he's going to be a resident in this area. on or about the time of these crimes. The person responsible here would be having conflict with someone very, very close to them. He's someone who's cruising the area. He's going to look just like you or I, which will make it difficult for law enforcement. Kemper would be apprehended after he committed a final pair of murders. One of which he was building up the courage to carry out all along. Ed told me how he would tiptoe into his mother's bedroom in the evening hours, holding a claw hammer in his hand. And he would raise that hammer over her head, fantasizing how he would crush her skull. But he said it took him 6 homicides before he got the nerve to make that fantasy a reality.
If Kemper hadn't killed his mother, Kemper actually had plans in his head to murder his entire neighborhood. Fortunately or unfortunately, he murdered his mother, and that sort of put an end to everything.
He now will decapitate his mother. He will have post-mortem sexual relations with the mother. And because she's such a nag, he said to me, that he rips out the larynx, the voice box. I'm gonna get rid of this nag. And so he throws it down into the garbage disposal, and he laughs. He says, and it pops up. And he says, even now, this bitch, she's still nagging me. Even after she's dead, she's still nagging me. After killing his mother, Kemper went to a bar for a drink and then returned home, where he invited over Sally Howlett, his mom's best friend. When she turned up, Kemper strangled her. He then took a bunch of caffeine pills and goes on the run. The co-ed killer gets his vehicle and he drives to Pueblo, Colorado, thinking that this is going to be the biggest manhunt, in the history of the United States. Listening to the radio as he drives along, no one's even bringing this case up at all. So here he drives 1,000 miles and finally decides, I'm going to turn myself into the police department by calling.
He confessed to the murder on the phone to the dispatcher. The police department immediately told him to stay right where he was at, and we'd have a police come out and get him.
Comes out, he's so big that when he reaches up, his arms are on top of the telephone booth. Cuffs him, he gave no fight, Kemper gave no fight. Then they dispatched the Santa Cruz detectives to come and take him from there and extradite him back to Santa Cruz.
The man told Pueblo police that he had killed his mother and another woman in a duplex in the Santa Cruz community of Aptos Sea Cliff. Apparently, Kemper also told Pueblo police that he had previously killed 6 college girls in the Santa Cruz area.
We knew that we needed to know as much about each homicide as possible.
Tell us about
and we also wanted to verify the things that he did tell us as to where the body parts were and things of that nature. But it was hard to listen to him. He did never stop talking. He was just so matter-of-factly about everything. And I never once heard him say, oh, I'm sorry I killed that girl.
After his confession, Ed Kemper was charged with 8 counts of murder. He was set to stand trial in October 1973.
I was Ed Kemper's lawyer. Santa Cruz didn't have a government public defender. We had a contract with the county. When somebody was going to be defended, my name came to the fore. There's not a scintilla of evidence that he didn't do it. Kemper just simply confessed. He confessed from Pueblo, Colorado to Santa Cruz to TV to radio, and anybody that got near him who could repeat what he said got the story.
Kemper is accused of killing Mary Ann Pesky and Anita Lucchesa, Miss Koo, Cynthia Ann Shaw, Rosalind Thorpe and Alice Liu, his mother, Mrs. Clarnell Strandberg, and her friend, Sarah Taylor Howlett. He is being held without bail.
You talk to somebody who's perfectly reasonable and is talking to you about current events and offering opinions about what's going on in the world today, and you can't say, look, he's crazy. He was found guilty of 8 counts of murder with no mitigation or anything, just that. At the time, they didn't have the death penalty, so he didn't get the gas chamber.
After his conviction on November 8, 1973, Kemper was sent to California's Vacaville Medical Facility for inmate evaluation. And that's where I finally met up with him, face to face. We pulled up to Vacaville, and you had typically the barbed wire around the building. You go in, clang, a door, and then you go to another section, and the doors open wide. They put us in a room. We had this little handy tape recorder. This was the only time I ever used a tape recorder. It was a distraction, and I thought it would make inmates nervous about talking and telling the truth. This mountain of a man starts coming through this door, and as he comes in, he even kind of has to duck down. And I say to the correctional officers, please take off the cuffs of him. Just to show we're not afraid of you, we want to make you comfortable. And he sits back and he says, what are those? And but these, and I had my creds. Can I look at them? So yeah. So I give him my credentials. And he said, man, I said, you know, I always wanted to be in law enforcement. I always wanted to be a cop.
He had always wanted to be a police officer or a deputy, but unfortunately, because he had murdered his grandparents, he was not able to do that.
They love law enforcement probably more than anything, law enforcement, even though we're after him, trying to catch him. There's some respect there, but it's power. You have control over others in that capacity.
Kemper liked to talk. That was one of the best things about Kemper. He could talk. He had quite a background in terms of being a domestic killer, then moving to stranger co-ed killings, and then back to domestic. So he had a rather complex type of killing pattern, and they needed to find out what that all meant.
There were no fantasy episodes during the crimes.
How does this guy end up like this? I found out one reason was that when he was a kid, he killed his sister's cats, and that's important. A lot of serial killers I interviewed in my career would tell me they abused animals, but Kemper was the first one to tell me that. We're not talking about burning ants with a magnifying glass or anything like that, of pulling the wings off of flies. We're talking about small animals where the person is deriving pleasure from killing these small animals. It led to the creation of a predictive tool called the homicidal triangle, which includes animal cruelty, bedwetting, and pyromania, or the love of fire setting. We believe that today that this is a very, very good predictor of potential violence in the future.
I was being called stupid pretty frequently.
Ed Kemper also shared when he grew older, he wasn't comfortable in a typical boy-girl relationship. He didn't think any girl would have him. Ed Kemper cannot deal and speak, interact with a living female because he feels rejection. He's been rejected throughout his life by his mother. It's mixed emotion. They love the mother and then hate the mother, at the same time. Of all the things Ed told me in his interview, secrets that would form the foundation of our pioneering serial killer study, it was the hatred he felt for his mother, who never believed in him, that he felt motivated him to start killing, and I agreed. It was the same thing with nearly 50% of the serial killers I interviewed. They all had difficult relationships with their moms. Ed was no different.
It was very hard on everybody. These young, beautiful girls who were being murdered, they were disappearing, and we didn't really know about his murders until he confessed to us.
Edmund Kemper could not stop talking about his crimes, and this was a great, great benefit to the idea of profiling and what that meant. Kemper really gave him an understanding of what he was thinking, when he was thinking it, what led up to the crimes, what happened during the crimes, to really start the idea of profiling these types of criminals.
John would always say, what did we learn from each offender? And kind of put that all together. Each offender had something unique. There were other people that were very verbal, but not like Kemper. Kemper really gave such an important information to us for the study and to understand other killers.
Ed Kemper was not born to be a serial killer. He was manufactured as one. And when I talked to him, he said he had one purpose in mind, one primary purpose, and that was to get back at dear old Mom. When she was abducted from her own driveway. I've worked over 5,000 cases in my career, all different types, but I had yet to have a case like this one where we had an offender contacting the family and taunting them over and over again. This is the inside story of the monster known as Larry Gene Bell. My name is John Douglas. As an FBI agent, I studied hundreds of serial killers and talked to many of them face to face. When I joined the FBI's Behavioral Sciences Unit in 1977, my job was to decode the minds of America's most notorious serial killers using a brand new approach called criminal profiling. Officers from all over the country, they're bringing in cases. How can we understand the cases if we don't talk to the bad guys? This study was about understanding different patterns of criminal behavior. The purpose of the interviews was to learn from the offenders. We realized that we got a gold mine here. Y plus how equals who. No one had ever done that before. By 1985, criminal profiling was starting to catch on. And two of my agents came in to tell me that they just received a call from Lexington County, the Sheriff's Department. There had been an abduction. The missing girl was Sherry Faye Smith.
Sherry was blonde-haired, blue-eyed, fair-skinned, beautiful, had a smile that just drew you in immediately. The day of May 31st, Sherry had been at graduation rehearsal that morning. Our house was 7 miles from the town of Lexington, and she'd always get the mail, just stop at the mailbox, car running, get out, get the mail, and then drive down the driveway. But this day, as she had gotten out of the car, she didn't make it.
Sherry's father saw her pull up and get out of the car. He left the room for a moment, and when he returned, the car was there, but Sherry was nowhere to be seen. When you get a case like this, what we're trying to establish is the motive for the crime. Is it a criminal enterprise? Is it sexually motivated? In Sherry's case, the family wouldn't have to wait long for the first clue to emerge.
The Smith family received a phone call around 2:20 a.m. on Monday morning after Sherry's abduction.
There was a man on the other end of the line, and he asked to speak to my mom. His voice was distorted, and He began to say what Sherry had on, from her swimsuit to her white baggy shorts to the jewelry that she was wearing.
The caller on the end of the line told them that they would be receiving a letter in the mail from Sherry.
When my mother hung up the phone, her face just fell, and she said, "That man has Sherry."
The investigators went to the post office, they intercepted the letter, and they brought it back to the Smith family. It was Sherry's handwriting on the letter, so they knew it was from Sherry.
She wrote last will and testament. "I love you, Mommy, Daddy, Robert, Dawn, and Richard, and everyone else and all other friends and relatives. My thoughts will always be with and in you," and then in parentheses, casket closed. "I love you all so," and she underlined, "damn much. Sorry, Dad, I had to cuss for once. All my love always, Sherry Smith. I love you a lot."
I just could not fathom or understand how someone could write a letter like that. The only thing I'm thinking is it must be the strong faith. She's not afraid to die. She's going to go to heaven. It was just a crushing blow and brought sorrow to all of us. You know, we have to find this guy. We have to do something.
I don't think the reality of what Sherry was saying, we wouldn't allow it to register. We would absolutely not give up hope that Sherry was alive, that she was going to be found, that we were going to get her back, because that just had to be the answer.
Where there's been a kidnapping and a murder, it happens almost within the first 10 hours, so you don't have a lot of time. Police do not have a lot of time to move on a case. So whatever the fantasy is, they have to kill fast, and that's part of the killing experience.
Police quickly put a recording device on the telephone. They also wanted for the Smith family to try and keep him on the phone as long as they could so that they could possibly track where he was calling from.
Back at Quantico, I'm in my office. We often consulted by phone before heading to crime scenes to assist local authorities. In this case, I talked to Sherry's mom to give her some guidance in drawing information out of the caller. And I say, "Mrs. Smith," I said, "I think I can get this guy to communicate." I spent, time with her, explained to her what I wanted to do, explained to her how to keep him on the phone, using the techniques in hostage negotiation, paraphrasing, restatement of content, and stalling for time.
Hello?
Is it Smith?
No, this is Dawn.
I need to speak to your mother.
Could I ask who's calling?
No.
Okay, okay, hold on just a second, please. Hello?
Have you received the mail today?
Yes, I have.
Do you believe me now?
Well, I'm not really sure I believe you because I haven't had any word from Sherry. And I need to know that Sherry is well.
You'll know in 2 or 3 days.
Sherry Faye's kidnapper, he was very, very talkative. It was very obvious right away that by listening to this that he was obsessive compulsive. He was following a script.
Between 4 and 7 Wednesday tomorrow, have ambulance ready.
4 and 7 a.m.?
4 and 7 in the afternoon.
In the afternoon.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, have ambulance ready.
This crime is a crime of control. And that's the only way he can stay in control is by forcing himself to be organized. He's one of these guys, if you go in his garage, you'll see all the tools are outlined that, okay, the hammer goes here, the screwdriver goes over there. Everything is neat and, and orderly. He would call from telephone booths, and by the time we got out there, he was gone. Fingerprint the entire phone booth. We take the coins out of the phone booth as well and have them sent to the FBI lab, see if we can get some fingerprints off of them. We traced one of the calls to a payphone in Lexington Town Square Shopping Center, the last place Sherry was seen before her abduction.
He had watched and stalked and surveilled her. He knew that he wanted to abduct her. For whatever was going on in his mind, that was it. He's got her in his fantasy.
The Smith family continues to receive phone calls over a period of nearly 3 weeks, and they're getting more chilling by the moment.
4:58 a.m., Saturday, the 1st of June.
Okay, Saturday, the 1st of June, 4:58 a.m.
Became one soul.
Became one soul. What does that mean?
No questions now.
All right.
It was the 5th day after Sherry had disappeared that he called, and I took the phone call, and he was giving directions. And he said where to turn and on all the road names.
Listen carefully. Take Highway 378 west, hit traffic circle, take Prosperity exit, go 1.5 miles, turn right at sign, Loose Lodge number 103, go 1/4 mile, turn left at white frame building, go to backyard, 6 feet beyond, we're waiting, God chose us.
At the end of the phone call, he said, Sherry and I will be waiting.
Several days have gone by. The temperature down there was well into the 90s. And so when we saw the condition of the body, you ask yourself again the question of why? Why now? Why did he call now? Bell waited for the body to decompose, which would happen in just a few days in that hot weather. It tells you that he's fairly criminally sophisticated, and he does not want to leave us any evidence that could possibly link it back, to him.
When we saw the face of the officer come into the room, and I don't know his exact words, I think it was, "I'm so sorry. It's Sherry. And she's dead." I just remember my mom just wailing, crying. And she just kept saying, "Not my baby. Not my baby. Oh God, not my baby." And it seemed like an eternity that we just sat in that room with Mom it's just wailing, crying, because her daughter was murdered. Sherry was dead. And that was probably the most painful moment of the entire ordeal.
Even after Sherry's body had been found, the calls kept coming.
We dreaded the phone calls. Toward the middle of it, Mom had to be given a sedative because she couldn't sleep at all.
I want to say something to you that she told me.
Okay.
Sherry Faye said that she did not cry the entire time.
It's like this nightmare that we were in the middle of living that just wouldn't come to an end. The phone calls were horrific and cruel, and details of the things he claimed to have done to Sherry that were just sick.
Sherry Faye was not a virgin. She started with a guy in January. Were you aware?
We know that now, yes.
Okay. And I did make love to her, and we had oral sex for 3 different times. And she died. Can you have us now?
Yes.
He's emotionally, psychologically sadistic, taunting the family. Why is he doing that? What purpose is that? This domination extended to taunting the mother with the details of Sherry's death. Hilda wanted to know, did my daughter know she was going to be killed?
Did you tell her you were going to kill her?
Yes, I did, and I gave her the choice. I asked her if she wanted to be drug overdose, shot, or suffocated, and she picked suffocation. I tied her up to the bedpost and with electric cord, and she didn't struggle, cry, or anything. And I took duct tape and wrapped it all the way around her head and suffocated her.
My God, how could you?
As I'm listening to these phone calls, I notice something significant. He's distorting his voice with some type of voice modulator to make it difficult to recognize. So we're not dealing with a kid. We're dealing with somebody here, late 20s to early 30s, somewhere in that range. He's enjoying the control he has over Sherry Faye's family. From my profiling experience, that tells me the killer feels powerless himself. He's intimidated by women within his own age group because throughout his life, he has had, in fact, failures in relationships. And so he only will deal with women where he feels he can totally dominate them. This is the first time in his life where now he can exert power and control over others. After the abduction of Sherry Faye Smith, it was about 2 weeks later that Deborah Mae Heidnik would be abducted in front of her home. Blue eyes, described with blonde hair. The only main difference that she was 9 years of age. It's a victim of opportunity that he snatches.
Deborah Mae Heidnik, she was also abducted from near her mailbox in Richland County, which was about 25 miles from the Smith home.
We moved into the Shiloh trailer park. We had only been there about 2 weeks. Every time the news came on, they would always put a picture of Sherry Faye Smith on the screen, and Deborah Mae would say, "Mama, she's so pretty." And I said, "Yes, she's beautiful." And she would say, "That's bad that that happened, but we never thought that that would ever happen to us." It was June 14th, 1985. It was on a Friday, and I had to be at work that day. We had met 2 different couples in the trailer park when we moved in there, and the one, he was an eyewitness, actually saw the car pull into the trailer park, and it stopped there, and he walked over to Deborah Mae. All of a sudden, the man grabbed her from behind and went running to his car and said she was kicking and, her arms were flailing.
It was just heartbreaking. All this is going through my mind, and then I'm thinking I have a daughter the same age at home. When you look at cases, you look at victimology. We have a teenager and we have a 9-year-old, 2 low-risk victims. You ask yourself, what are the chances that someone else is perpetrating the same modus operandi? And the chances are slim to none. We're looking for one offender for both cases.
He'd been very quiet. That was horrifying and frightening because where was he? All of a sudden, he called again, and I took the call.
And now the killer had stopped using his voice-distorting device. He's bolder. He's overconfident. He's taking chances.
Have you heard about Deborah May Hamrick?
No.
The 10-year-old? Helmick?
Richland County?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, listen carefully. Go 3.5 miles through Gilbert, turn right.
It was just like before, telling them where to turn, where to find her. And when authorities got there, they found the body of a child, and it was later determined to be Deborah May Helmick.
We were all devastated, but I felt from the very first night on June 14th, the night that I walked outside and just looked up at the stars, and it felt like there was like water hitting my face, but I think it was my tears, and I felt like she was telling me goodbye.
Sheriff Metz said, now that we know that these two are related, there's a serial killer out there now, and he will kill again.
Back at the FBI Academy, my team and I put together a profile for the suspect. He's going to be in his late 20s to early 30s. He would have changed his personal appearance or identity shortly around this time, shaving his hair or growing beard. If he had a beard, removing the beard. There's going to be more victims if we don't go down here. I flew from Quantico to South Carolina, and when I arrived in Lexington, I visited the Smith house. Finally got to meet the family, and I really wanted to see Shari Faye's room. We walked into the room. It's kind of like a regular teenage room. But what was most remarkable were these koala bears. I mean, the whole room was full of koala bears. And I started thinking, what can I do? I can maybe entice this killer by taking one of these koala bears. I know through the research that our guys collect mementos and souvenirs. It's all part of the fantasy. And I start thinking about the Betty Jean Shade case, a lust murder homicide, where we proactively lured the killer to the gravesite.
If we did this staged family memorial at her grave, that would draw him in. It was going to be in the news, it was going to be on the paper.
At some point, Dawn, I want you to place this koala bear on a stem of a flower at the grave.
What we've learned from these offenders is their need to keep alive the memory of what they did, to actually go to the funeral or to go to the gravesite. I know that there have been cases where they have been actually able to catch somebody at the gravesite. Unfortunately, she was buried close to the road. No one ever came for this koala bear. But from a police record of license plates, we later found out the killer was in the area. He just never stopped. In the end, we'd catch him another way.
The letter that was sent by Sherry was titled The Last Will and Testament. After I photographed it, went back to the documents examiner, and he did what they call an ESTA examination on it that actually detects indented writing.
When you write a note on a piece of paper, any kind of paper, and you rip it off, you may be able to see the indentation on the second page.
One of the crucial indentions they found appeared to be a telephone number. The indented phone number on the letter led them to Mr. and Mrs. Shepherd, the investigators, they knew as soon as they saw this couple that it wasn't them.
Shepherd family listens to the description provided by the profile that we developed from the undersheriff. And the Shepherds, they look at one another and they almost unanimously say, "You're talking about Larry Gene Bell?" Who's Larry Gene Bell? Larry Gene Bell works for us as a part-time electrician. We've been away for 6 weeks here in California. We let him house sit at our home here.
The police set up a roadblock. When he came out that morning, he stopped and he got out the car, and the first thing he said was, "This is about those girls, isn't it?"
And it looks like he fits the profile to a T.
Larry Gene Bell was married at one point, and he had a son, and he later got divorced. He also entered the Marines, and the same year he was discharged from the Marines.
Once we started looking into Larry Gene Bell and his personality, he was in fact responsible for an abduction and an attempted rape of a woman, and he never served any time for that. And in the 80s, they really didn't understand the criminal personality, and they really believed, like in rehabilitation, that you could rehabilitate, that you can change the mind and the thinking. And what I found is you cannot really rehabilitate someone who is not habilitated to begin with. When I first saw Larry Gene Bell, I thought, man, our description was pretty good. He's just an inadequate nobody. Detectives questioned Bell repeatedly.
Has it ever crossed your mind that maybe what happened was something that you couldn't help? That it was something really emotionally wrong with you? I surely don't know I could have done that.
He had not confessed yet, no matter how hard they tried. Got to provide some type of face-saving scenario, give him a way out. So when I go into the room, I don't want an interrogation. I want to have a conversation with this guy. I'm not going to use the word murder or killings, anything violent. You don't do that. And I said, we've interviewed different people, like Berkowitz and Ed Kemper, all these different names of who's who. And I said, you know, when I did these interviews, it was almost as if it was like a dream-like, they tell me. And I said, what do you think? What do you think, Larry? Could you have done something like this? And he says, in a real soft voice, looking at me, all I know, Agent Douglas, is that the good Larry Gene Bell never would do something like this, but the bad Larry Gene Bell, very well could have.
All I can tell you off the fact is that in my right frame of mind, I didn't do any of this. Which Larry Gene Bell did do it.
The good part of you is fighting with the bad part. It's tearing you up inside.
When we look at this case, we developed our own terms. Organized, meaning intellectually bright enough to understand the nature, consequences of their actions. So they get pretty good at feigning. They know the buzzwords. They can feign mental illness. They know how to act paranoid, schizophrenic. They know it better than the people who are counseling them.
Larry Gene Bell was diagnosed with latent schizophrenia. At that time, that diagnosis would be considered a major psychiatric disorder. That doesn't speak to his crime. He planned that. He was so well organized.
South Carolina had the death penalty back then. And investigators thought that Larry Gene Bell was using the multiple personality defense. He just wanted them to believe that he had more than one personality just to keep himself safe.
In my career, I think this was one of the best cases of law enforcement coming together as one team, all with the same purpose in mind, and that is to help solve this case, all working together with the common goal.
I hate to say that he was a monster, but at that time, I think that's what he was.
He was an evil individual. He was not mentally ill, no. He was just evil.
He just took a piece of my heart, and it's something I can never get back.
I think you can't possibly go through what my family went through and not have your life changed forever. I lost my sister, who was also my best friend, and so there was a hole left in all of our lives that is still there, that will never change. But for me, my faith has been the reason that I've been able to go on.
Me sitting here, Larry Gene Bell, could not have done anything.
Based upon Bell's modus operandi, there's no doubt in my mind that he has perpetrated other serial crimes of violence in the past. What makes Larry Gene Bell a serial killer? Is it genetics or is it the environment? Genetics loads the gun, but it's one's personal life experiences that will decide whether or not they squeeze the trigger. Webster's dictionary defines a hole as an opening through something, an area where something is missing. But for this guy, a hole is something else entirely. This is Gary Heidnik, and he has a plan. In fact, he's had this plan for quite some time. And the plan is to create this kind of a super race. He's going to go to North Philadelphia, cruise around, and abduct African-American women and take those women down here into this dark, dingy dungeon where he's going to bind them up with chains. He's going to sexually assault these victims and hope to impregnate them to create this family. In my career with the FBI, I've worked over 5,000 different cases. But this particular case was the most horrific for me. My name is John Douglas. As an FBI agent, I studied hundreds of serial killers and talked to many of them face to face. When I joined the FBI's Behavioral Sciences Unit in 1977, my job was to decode the minds of America's most notorious serial killers using a brand new approach called criminal profiling. Officers from all over the country, they're bringing in cases. How can we understand the cases if we don't talk to the bad guys? This study was about understanding different patterns of criminal behavior. The purpose of the interviews was to learn from the offenders. We realized that we got a gold mine here. Y plus how equals 2. No one had ever done that before. In 1988, I was asked to help prosecutors make the case that Gary Heidnik wasn't insane at the time of his horrific crimes. The stakes were high, because if he was found not guilty by reason of insanity, he could be released back onto the streets. There was a lot riding on my analysis of this serial murder. I knew he was sadistic, but was he insane?
When police raided Heidnik's Philadelphia home, they found 3 women still alive in chains in the basement. 2 other women were already dead.
Gary Heidnik is perhaps one of the most interesting and scary serial killers that this nation has ever known, particularly because of whom he targeted and the way in which he went about torturing his victims.
He was a sexual sadist,
And the psychiatrist, forensic psychiatrist, defined that. But I also wanted to prove that he was a sane individual. He knew right from wrong.
While Heidnik had other crimes, it's the cases of the 6 women he tortured in a pit in his Philadelphia basement that I needed to examine. Over a period of just 4 months in the winter of 1986 to 87, he kidnapped 6 women and held them captive in his basement. They were all African American. All were tortured. 2 of them wouldn't make it out alive. People always ask, is there a reason why someone becomes a murderer or a rapist, commits a violent crime? And generally the answer is yes. You have to find out is the why. Gary Heidnik was born in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, East Lake, 1943, to alcoholic mother. A father, alcohol was his issue too. Very, very abusive. Both the mother and the father. Extremely dysfunctional, like we've seen in so many other cases.
His childhood was a difficult childhood. He was one of 2 children. He had a younger brother. His father was very dictatorial.
Due to the abuse that he was receiving at the hands of the father as well as the mother, he developed enuresis, which is bedwetting. This would continue on into his teenage years. The father handled it by taking the bed sheets and hanging them out the window or putting them on a clothesline for all the world to see. To him, it was a joke, but he painted a bullseye on the back of his pants so that he would kick his kids, or then when they went to school, it was like an invitation, hey, kick me in the butt. Bedwetting due to emotional distress, along with arson and animal cruelty, are behaviors that many serial predators have in common. They form what we call the homicidal triangle. The constant abuse broke his spirit, but just because someone is abused as a child doesn't always mean that they will become violent. But Gary's stability is further endangered when his family breaks apart. His mom went on to remarry multiple times, and some of those men were African American, which enraged Gary's father.
His father's hatred toward African Americans, his deeply embedded racism, clearly had an influence on Gary. Was Gary doing this in some way to get back at his father? Was he doing this because he ultimately wanted to undermine those very philosophies that his father entertained? Or was Gary himself also living out his father's racist diatribes by targeting African American women?
Intellectually, he is very, very smart. His IQ was 130, and in another test, it was anywhere between 146 and 148.
High intelligence and criminal behavior go hand in hand. We certainly found out that the organized offenders, many of them had high IQs.
He was a disciplinary problem at his high school in Ohio, so his father decided to send him to Staunton Academy in Virginia, which is a military school.
Serial killers like to gravitate towards military service. There's respect in the military. He didn't last very long. I think while he liked the military, he didn't like the discipline. Your control is taken away from you.
Gary was diagnosed with a schizoid personality disorder by the Army.
Schizoid personality disorder is a condition characterized by the lack of desire to form personal relationships, detachment, and apathy. Because of his diagnosis, Heidnik was discharged from the Army with a full pension, but it wasn't long before he's dealt a terrible blow. Heidnik's mother, suffering from bone cancer, commits suicide after ingesting deadly mercury chloride. After settling into a predominantly black neighborhood in Philly, he starts a church and begins luring in vulnerable women.
Gary Heidnik targeted women of color, African American women in particular, and he was very strategic and deliberate in selecting them as victims. He understood a couple of things. African American women would have attracted less attention from the police. There would have been less of a deliberate effort to investigate those disappearances. And so in some sense, it was genius on his part, but it also speaks to the deeply embedded racism of that moment and how women of color really didn't matter, black women really didn't matter.
In May of 1978, he abducts a woman he knows named Alberta Davison.
she was mentally challenged, and he liked mentally challenged women.
He had sex with her on several occasions, and when the police came to try and find her, he put her in a storage facility in the basement.
Gary was arrested and charged on 7 counts, including kidnapping, rape, false imprisonment, and involuntary deviant sexual intercourse, serving 4 years and 4 months until he came up for parole.
Did you take any classes while you were incarcerated? Developed any new skills in your rehabilitation?
Any visits, or did you receive any letters from family members? Maybe a pastor? Any thought to your reintegration?
He came up for parole at the prison. He told the parole board that he couldn't answer their questions because the devil put a cookie in his throat. He did the entire 5 years on the 2.5 to 5.
It's a sickening crime, but there's an explanation of this person. He has a sickness, but he's not psychotic. He is just a manipulative, narcissistic personality who is a threat not only to himself, but he's a threat to the community. After serving his sentence, Gary is released back into society, and he immediately goes back to his old ways.
Gary Heidnik had a mail-order bride. He would sexually abuse her. He would also bring in young prostitutes. Finally, she had enough, so she left him.
Gary's predatory instincts immediately start to spiral out of control in the neighborhood outside his little house on North Marshall Street. They're African-American victims. They were down and out, ran out of luck in their lives. They came from poverty. What he saw was a fertile grounds for selecting a victim, the perfect kind of victim. It's not long before he finds Josefina Rivera. She went to high school and did well. She went to college and did well. Something happened along the way, and it was because of drugs that put her out on the skids.
How you doing? She had decided to be a sex worker on the street.
You want to take a walk?
He picks vulnerable women who aren't going to be missed.
He picked her up, brought her back to his house, had sex. And the next thing that Josefina remembers is that after he took her from the bedroom on the 2nd floor, then he took her down into the basement.
Heidnik came up with a plan, and I don't know where he got this from, because this was certainly something he didn't read in a book or something that he saw in a movie. And the purpose of the whole was for torture, was to gain compliance from these victims. If they don't go along with the program, they're going in there.
It would be absolutely terrifying for those young women to be in that hole.
They think they're going to be buried alive, that they're dying. They don't know what's going to happen to them. It was hell for them. After he's been holding Josefina captive for a day or two, he decides to go hunting again. this time targeting a woman he actually knew and whose family knew him. The second victim that was brought down into that cellar was Sandra Lindsay.
Sandra Lindsay was my sister. I would describe my sister as a joyful, playful, laughable person, and she was beautiful. She was intellectually disabled. She was 25, but she had the mindset of someone maybe 15.
He kidnapped her, brought her back, raped her, and chained her in the basement.
My mother suspected that Gary had abducted her. We called the police and made a missing persons report. We started to look for her. We got down here to Gary's block, and the police met us there. We knocked on the door, and there was no answer. We could hear loud music, but there was no answer.
He went to great pains to make sure that no one could hear anything from the outside. There's radios down there blasting away, TVs upstairs blasting away. These crimes, were they purposeful? Yes, they were. Was there a plan, a total plan for him to elude police? Yes, there was. Did he exhibit control? Was he not only exhibit control, but was he in control of himself to cover his own tracks so that he wouldn't be apprehended? And he was able to do that when police and others came knocking on his door. In the case of Sandra, he tried to throw police off his trail.
Gary Heidnik had her sign a letter, "I'm doing fine, Mom, don't worry about me," and then also a Christmas card. And he drove to New York and mailed them from New York.
Good. He didn't want anyone to realize she was in his house in Philly.
Give it to me. Lick it.
When we received the Christmas card, the whole family knew that this was not real. My mother gave the police information about Gary Heidnik possibly kidnapping and holding my sister against her will. Police misspelled his name. And because of misspelling his name, the fact that he had been arrested and charged for doing the very same thing before never showed up.
It's something that maybe a more aggressive policeman, detective would have determined, but sadly, that didn't happen.
Had they done that, there's a possibility that my sister and the other young ladies would have never gone through this. I think the detective saw my sister as another young black girl who has run away from home.
I think what's so fascinating to us about the Heidnik case today is if we think about the multiple layers of victimization that these women really endure. They're victims of Heidnik, but they're also victims of society as a whole. They're invisible, and their invisibility is what contributes to their vulnerability.
Gary Heidnik's next victims after Josephina Rivera and Sandra Lindsay were Lisa Thomas, Deborah Dudley, and Jacqueline Askins. Gary convinced all three of these girls to come back to his house.
Gary Heidnik has this plan that he ultimately wants to create this master race, that he himself will be the great founder of this by breeding with the women he's taken captive. And what's so dangerous about what he's proposing, or what's so interesting and also at the same time repulsive about this, is this idea that he sees himself as almost a new Adam, and that he's going to be the creator of this new master race.
When you would discuss it with him, once again, he would look at you like, why don't you understand this? There's so much racial tension in the world. If we mix the races, we eliminate the racial tension.
These women would be assaulted on a daily basis. This is something that they'll never get over until their dying day. Sandra Lindsay, she attempted to escape, and that just aggravated the hell out of Heidnik. And so he had to show a form of punishment. He hung her up by one of her wrists, hung her from the ceiling, where she was barely even able to touch the floor, and he kept her there for days.
When you have your hands up like that, you suffocate. You literally suffocate because now your body's pulling down and you can't hold yourself up anymore. He was upstairs or going out of the home, and he came back down and the girls were screaming and she was dead.
How Sandra died was just awful, but it led me to question Gary Heidnik's sanity, something I may have to testify to from a crime analysis perspective. Was he exhibiting control? Was there premeditation? And did he know the nature and consequences of his actions? After the death of Sandra Lindsay, what is he going to do? He doesn't have a plan. How is he going to dispose of the body?
He boiled her head in a pot of water, and he let it boil for days. He cut up all of the body parts, but with the head, he boiled it so long so that the teeth would float out of the gums. The smell was called by a neighbor. She called the police, and the police came.
Oh, you don't smell that.
Yeah, dozed off. Burn or roast, something awful. Stinks.
Mm-hmm.
That one call me in again?
All right, look, just take care of it, right?
They were satisfied with his explanation that he burnt his roast.
He put her through a meat grinder, he dismembered the body, and he would then mix with dog food, fed the other victims. He then put some of the particularly the arms and legs, in a refrigerator. He didn't know what to do with them. While some of his victims were forced into submission, others still managed to find the strength to fight back.
Deborah Dudley was very combative and didn't cooperate. And he finally was fed up with her.
As far as the torture, he enjoyed it. He was using that high IQ of his to come up with new methods of torture. He came up with a new technique with that brain of his.
He filled the pit with water. And then he took exposed wires, he attached to the chains.
Take it. Take it.
Then he enlisted Josephina.
He had Josephina touch the water with the wire.
She was screaming holy hell. And next thing you know, she stopped screaming, and then the other girl started screaming more, saying she's dead, she's dead.
She'd been electrocuted to death.
There is the possibility it was a Stockholm Syndrome phenomenon, which means that the victim forms a relationship with her captor. She certainly was captive, and she may have thought this was the best thing for her to survive.
The truth is, Josephina, her survival techniques kicked in. She befriended Gary, gained his trust over a period of weeks.
Gary kidnapped his last victim, Agnes Adams, on March 24th, 1987. But Agnes would be the luckiest one of the bunch. She would be released the next day thanks to Josephina's ingenuity. Josephina convinces Gary to let her go to find another victim, but in fact has an ulterior motive in mind.
Back in 15?
Of course.
He said, okay, I trust you.
He misjudged her. He thought she would always be so loyal to him, and she wasn't. Then she had played him like he was playing everybody else.
She went right to the police. He was waiting while she did this. And the police converged on him.
Josephina, she conned him into believing that she was on his side now and did such a good job that it saved not only her life, but the life of the other women.
Gary Heidnik, the so-called House of Horrors killer, imprisoned, tortured, and killed women in his North Philadelphia basement.
They went in and searched the house and found the other girls and found out that there was 2 homicides.
We turned on the television. The evening news was on. One of the girls who was in the house was being interviewed, and she stated that Sandy was dead. My mother heard it, and she fell face first to the floor.
He was charged with first-degree murder, which is life imprisonment. But he was also charged with first-degree murder with aggravating circumstances that made it a death penalty case. His defense was not guilty by reason of insanity.
Receiving the death penalty was the only way to ensure he'd never be released because of how the insanity defense figured into the equation.
If Gary Heidnik was ruled insane by a decision by the jury, the court has the authority to commit someone, but if you're committed, you can then prove later that you're resolved and he would have been released to the streets.
Legal insanity is that you suffer from such a disease or defect of the mind that you cannot appreciate the nature and quality of your acts. Or you don't understand the difference between right and wrong.
With a case like this, and just looking at the background, jurors are going to be convinced that this guy must be insane. He's committing insane acts.
By the time he went to trial, his hair was never washed, was never trimmed. His beard was never trimmed. The mustache grew down and into his mouth. He never bathed, and he stunk. And he wore the same Hawaiian shirt throughout the trial.
Heidnik seemed crazy, but after looking at the case, I had no doubt Gary Heidnik wasn't insane. He did know right from wrong. He was a sexual sadist.
John Douglas explained to me what a sexual sadist was. Understanding that, he completely fit the bill.
Sexual sadists inflict suffering on other people in order to feel sexual elation. It's a sickening crime, but there's an explanation of this person. He has a sickness, but he's not psychotic. He was planning this with his 148 IQ. He can do things that someone, say, with a 90 IQ can't do. Like making a killing in the stock market, which he did. If you're looking at him to be insane, how was he able to accrue so much money that nearly reached $600,000? Gary Heidnik, he became the rich man based upon his own selection of stocks.
During that whole time period, he was communicating with his stockbroker, and Gary Heidnik made the decisions on what stock to buy.
The stockbroker's testimony proved critical in sealing the deal that Gary was guilty and not insane.
Gary Heidnik was convicted of 2 counts of murder of the first degree, 6 counts of kidnapping, 6 counts of involuntary sexual assault. The result was 2 death penalties and a sentence of 160 to 320 years.
During my 25 years profiling killers for the FBI, Heidnik was always a hot topic at road schools I put on for the local cops. He's one of the most depraved sadists I have ever come across. We would teach this to National Academy students as well as FBI agents trying to understand this kind of personality. It would be a difficult case even today to solve when the subject in this case is going to do things that's going to make it nearly impossible to know that even a crime exists, that a serial killer is out there killing.
When my sister died, the world lost a good, wholesome person. She got along with everyone. She was always happy. You know, you don't find people like that every day.
On July 6, 1999, Heidnik was executed by lethal injection. When he was executed, and I was notified the day of the execution, who I felt sorry for were the 2 women that he killed, those victims who he would torture down there and abuse, surviving victims, suffering to this day because of what that man did to them.
"19, huh?
19?
I'd kill to be 19 again. One more time around the sun. Want to see a new trick I got for the kiddos? Cracks them up.
What is it?
It's magic.
They look pretty real.
They are. No trick. You can lock me up, I'll escape. Ta-da.
How'd you do that?
I'll show you.
All right.
This young man doesn't know it yet, but he's a fly in the spider's web. And the spider has been waiting for this moment to strike.
All right, I give up. What's the trick?
This.
How do I get out?
You don't.
This is John Wayne Gacy, a killer next door, whose evil is the stuff of legend. A man with 2 faces who hid his secrets like he hid the bodies of his victims. But the truth can't stay buried forever. name is John Douglas. As an FBI agent, I studied hundreds of serial killers and talked to many of them face to face. When I joined the FBI's Behavioral Sciences Unit in 1977, my job was to decode the minds of America's most notorious serial killers using a brand new approach called criminal profiling. Officers from all over the country, they're bringing in cases. How can we understand the cases if we don't talk to the bad guys? This study was about understanding different patterns of criminal behavior. The purpose of the interviews was to learn from the offenders. We realized that we got a gold mine here. Y plus how equals who. No one had ever done that before. When they think of John Gacy, they think of him as the killer clown. How is he able to get away with so many of these homicides over this period of time without the police even knowing about it?
I don't take the case lightly because I'm the one that's accused of killing 33 young men and boys, and 22 of them were identified. What these guys were painted up to be were all little altar boys, and that I was a big bad wolf that snapped them up and swatted them like flies.
Gacy is a complicated killer. A man who was both a civic leader who once met with First Lady Rosalind Carter and a deviant predator who was a social pariah. He lured dozens of young men in his house just outside Chicago, Illinois, where he raped them, tortured them, and buried them in his crawl space until no more bodies would fit.
People saying that I had molested them in the lumberyard. People said I picked them up hitchhiking. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. But the thing of it is as the fantasy image grew, there's what people have centered in on, not the man. They just want to believe everything that's ever come out about me.
I was a detective in the Criminal Investigations Division for the Des Plaines Police Department in Illinois. A total of 26 bodies were recovered from the crawl space. Number 28 was recovered from underneath a barbecue grill, and the 29th body from the property was buried in concrete in the addition to his garage. The other 4 were dumped into the Des Plaines River.
First, John Wayne Gacy confessed to the murders, but after he was convicted, he said he didn't do it. The challenge in profiling Gacy is that he's a perpetual liar, but I was determined to get to the truth. You gotta know Gacy. Gacy can really lay out the line of BS. Gacy was born in Chicago's Polish enclave in 1942. His father, John Stanley Gacy, was a son of an immigrant, a machinist, and an alcoholic. The two never got along. Many of the serial killers that we talked to, the issue was the mother. Here, it is a father issue.
The father, as he claimed, was a pretty brutal man. He was abusive to not only the kids and to him, but also to the wife.
When his father would drink and get drunk, he'd become violent. His father would beat him with a real thick leather belt. The rest was psychological. It was just really, you're a bum, you're nothing, you're no good, you're not going to amount to, to anything.
His father, from what we learned, didn't think he was manly enough as a kid. He used to play with his mother's underwear and wear it.
He was trying to discover his sexuality. We're talking about 7 or 8 years of age. His father was really anti-gay, anti-homosexual. He would make derogatory comments. This would be beaten into him as he got older, into his teenage years. Gacy was also sexually abused by a friend of his father at that point in his life. A friend of his dad's would take him out for rides, grooming him to have him perform sexual acts on him. Once he's 20 years old, he drives to Las Vegas, where he visits his cousin. For a while, he works for an ambulance company. Serial killers are fascinated with the medical profession, people who wield the power of life and death. After a while, he's told to leave this job and is forced to find another, and that's where things get even more disturbing and horrifying.
He does work as a helper in a mortuary, and he has a place to live in that mortuary. He gets very comfortable, if you will, with dead people.
He's interested in death. He's interested in what the mortician does to the bodies. When the mortician leaves for the night, he's interested in undressing the people that are in there, particularly if it's a young person. And this one particular night, there's a teenager who was killed in an accident. He decides to get into the casket with him. It's like it's necrophilia. He said he rubbed the teenager's face, laid there. Really, what we're seeing in Las Vegas is just the beginning. There's no way he can turn off the spigot when he has these feelings and this fantasy inside of him, the types of things that he wants to do to young boys in the future. Gacy returns from Las Vegas and heads for Chicago. He attends business school, despite never having graduated high school. He gets a job at a shoe store and joins the JCs, a business club for young men. And despite what appears to be an attraction to men, he even starts seeing a coworker, Marilyn Myers.
Her father was the owner of 3 Kentucky Fried Chicken franchises. He was hired by her father to be the manager of all 3 of these restaurants.
And then they moved to Waterloo, Iowa to oversee some of these franchises and have 2 kids, a son and a daughter. He's really trying to belong. His father, he says, I never expected you to turn out to be this way, and I'm just so proud of you, son. And so here Gacy is, he's got it all. Why is he going to now take a step backward now? Because something is compelling him, something is driving him inside now to get off track. Even though Gacy is married at this point, he's struggling with his sexual identity, ashamed of his attraction to men, likely because of how his father felt about homosexuality.
He was arrested in Black Hawk County, Iowa for the charge of committing sodomy with an underage youth, a 16-year-old male.
Gacy lured this young man into his home when his wife and children weren't there, plied the boy with alcohol, and showed him pornography. Then he sexually assaulted him, not just once, but for many months. There were other victims who said Gacy victimized them too, though it was only one boy who went to the police. He was able to convince these teenagers that he was doing research, and he would give them $50 to participate in a sexual research, which would enable him to have sexual contact with these boys.
Police went out and arrested him. He pleads guilty, and he was sentenced to the maximum penalty at the time for that offense in Iowa, which was 10 years.
Gacy's first wife divorced him the day he was convicted of sodomy in Iowa. He never saw her or his children again. He goes to prison. He's the model inmate. He starts a JC chapter that would start out with 50 members. By the time he would leave the prison, they had 650 JC members there. Gacy's doing everything he needs to do to get himself out.
He got out in 18 months.
The psychiatrist that had examined him concluded this was a guy that was basically a sociopath.
You cannot change someone with an antisocial personality. You can try everything, and they'll fake you. They'll fake you into thinking that, that they've been rehabilitated. So he was able to fool the parole board. When he got back to Chicago, he got involved in politics. He became a captain of this political precinct for the Democrats. Very, very active, very, very popular. He started a company called PDM, painting, decorating, and maintenance. And he would go around doing odd jobs. He liked to get dressed up as a clown, and he called himself Pogo. And the reason he called himself Pogo, Po was because he was Polish, and Go because he was a go-getter.
He was a clown at the parties. He would dress up as a clown and had all this makeup on.
When Gacy was interviewed by the police, and as well as in the FBI, he said, if you're a clown, you can get away with murder. While none of his known victims were small kids from parties he entertained at, he did start to prey upon teenagers and young men he found in other places. Tim McCoy was hitchhiking between states. Gacy finds him around the bus station.
Not necessarily because he had any thoughts of killing that particular individual, but just for some kind of homosexual activity. And that was certainly the case with McCoy.
He invites him home, and he says, come, I'll give you a meal. Tomorrow I'll take you to the bus station.
McCoy is willing to play along, and they have consensual activity and go to bed in separate bedrooms.
John.
In the morning, Gacy is awakened by this young man who's standing at the foot of his bed with a large butcher knife. He jumps out of bed and fights with the kid and wrestles the knife away from him. Stabs him a number of times, twice he said in the heart.
And then he said he began to hear the gurgling of blood. He said, all of a sudden I knew that this was a stimulus, this was a sexual turn-on for me.
The significance of that first murder is he liked it. He enjoyed the power. Which he considered to be a godlike power, was even more important to him than the actual killing itself.
If Gacy's account is to be believed, Tim McCoy was just making breakfast, and Gacy, in a moment of insane confusion, thought that McCoy was going to murder him. If you believe Gacy, this is a self-defense homicide. After his first murder, he was hooked, like the predator after his first kill. Gacy now has a taste for blood. Tim McCoy would be the first one to be put down into the crawl space. He kills another unidentified man 6 months later. Then he doesn't kill anyone else for another 3 years. He decides it's time to blend back in as a family man, marrying Carol Huff, an old girlfriend from his youth. Marriage is a cover, but his wife knows better. She was suspicious of his activities. There'd be young boys coming to the house. Plus, there was this smell, there was this odor emanating from the crawl space. So what he would do is get some of his employees to help him put lime down there to hold down the odor from the bodies in the advanced stages of decomposition. The workers, they had nothing to do with the murders. They didn't know there were bodies placed there. Even as he poses as a loving husband, Gacy murders John Berkowitz, one of his employees, and buries him under the garage. Berkowitz became listed as just another missing person. And he tells his wife on Mother's Day, he says, "This is the last time we're having sex." He says, "Because I'm bisexual, and that's it." You know, and so she's heard enough of this. She ends up filing for divorce. Gacy's employees became some of his victims once his wife was out of the house and out of the picture.
Gacy tended to hire young men. David Cram was one of Gacy's employees.
Now he's divorced, so Cram could stay with him in his home. But then one night, Gacy was in his clown costume, good old pogo, and he was going to do the trick. After drinking, Gacy would play a little game. He'd put on a pair of handcuffs and then pretend to escape from them through sleight of hand. In actuality, he'd use the key hidden between his fingers.
Ta-da.
How'd you do that?
I'll show you.
All right.
But then he put the handcuffs on the victim to see if they could get out, but they never could.
Right, I give up. What's the trick?
This.
How do I get out?
You don't.
David Cram was lucky that night. He managed to escape being Gacy's next victim. However, he never went to the police. No one knew what Gacy was doing. The ferocity of Gacy's murder spree is unprecedented. He kills every few weeks. Sometimes he kills two in a single day, like Randall Reffett and Samuel Stapleton, murdered only a few hours apart.
Gacy was able to stay under the radar because he knew how to take care of things. He's very smart. One of the things that we heard was, well, we never suspected this guy because he was so good to us. One guy spotted him digging underneath his barbecue grill where he buried one of the bodies, and they joked about, what are you doing, burying a body? But still, nobody said anything because it was John. This is somebody who is a chronic and perpetual liar, who believes his lies. He's egocentric. He has an answer for everything.
I had done a complete workup on each individual, determining when they died, when I was out of town, and everything is marked with their picture and their diagram. Most of these individuals were never even reported missing, by the way.
But by the beginning of 1977, the body count was mounting, with over 15 murders. And someone who was reported missing was John Zick.
My brother John Zick was murdered by John Gacy. John was a very petite, skinny kid. John started living on his own between 18 and 19. He had a full-time job and he had his own apartment.
According to Gacy, John Zick comes to his house with his Plymouth that he wants to sell to Gacy. So that's a lure. It gets him over there.
I would like to think that when he was at Gacy's house, he realized what danger he was in, but he couldn't escape it at that point.
Once he won their trust, he would play his handcuff trick. Once under his domination and unable to escape, he shackled their legs with makeshift leg irons. He tortured them, raped them, and when he was done, he strangled them.
Gacy would just put the garrote around his neck, twisted it to cut off the flow of blood to the brain through the carotid arteries, cut off the breathing supply.
This was a terrifying experience. It was way beyond necessary. It was his ritual, the torture.
I don't think about what my brother went through with Gacy. I don't know exactly what happened, and I'm probably better off not thinking about that.
The taking of trophies is something that was part of John Wayne Gacy's signature, something unique that he was compelled to do. Serial killers collect trophies and mementos of their crimes to relive the fantasies over and over again. Gacy's ultimate trophies were the young men he had buried in the crawl space of his home.
I think that keeping the bodies is the equivalent to keeping them close to him. He kept as many bodies as he could before he had to start disposing of bodies in the river.
Gacy's reign of terror went on unabated for another 2 years. I'm looking at Gacy as his old man, and the people he's killing are really him. It's symbolic of what all he had to go through.
The question about whether the serial killer can stop on his own, I think, is almost no. The answer would be they can't stop on their own.
In Gacy's case, he was going to get caught. While deceitful, cunning, and his ability to blend in allowed him to kill 33 men over 7 years, his luck was about to run out.
Robert Piest was a student at Maine West Township High School, the northwest Chicago suburbs.
He was working this job at the Neeson's Pharmacy.
The night he disappeared was his mother's birthday. She came to the store around 9 o'clock to pick him up.
He goes and tells him, Mom, hey, Mom, I'll just be a little while. I'm going to go meet this man here and see about a job. I can make twice as much money.
It was the last time anyone saw Robert Piest alive, other than John Gacy.
The mistake he made with him was that he spots Piest and he doesn't fit into the profile of a kid who would run away. I mean, the kid he's an athlete, he's a tremendous student.
And the parents called the police and filed a missing persons report. The patrol officer took the report, went back to the drugstore, and got the names of everybody who had been there that evening, and obviously Gacy's name was there. He had done time in Iowa for sodomy of a child, so almost immediately he became a person of interest. It was decided that we were going to do a surveillance on him.
The hounding by the police for the 10 days and how ridiculous that was, that amounted to Keystone Cops. During that 10 days that they were following me, I had to keep stopping and telling them where I was going because I kept losing them in traffic, and I never broke the speed limit.
They trailed him 24 hours a day. Wherever he went, they went. If he went to a bar, they'd follow him to the bar, and basically just making him known they were there the whole time. Eventually, we got the search warrant issued. People were assigned to do different rooms of the house. I wanted them to search every single nook and cranny. We found books on homosexual acts and found some sex toys, found some IDs of people whose IDs should not have been there. We found a ring. This one had the initials JAS engraved on them.
It belonged to my brother John. Once they put my brother John into Gacy's house, you kind of knew he didn't come out.
During the time of the surveillance, we had instructed the surveillance officers that if he invited them in, to go inside. Detective Hackmeister, Detective Schultz were on duty the night that he invited them into his house. So they followed him into the house. Detective Schultz asked to go to the bathroom. While he was in there, the furnace kicked on and the heat came on, and all the vents were under the crawl space, so they came up through the floor. It reminded him a lot of the smell he'd smelled at the morgue.
As detectives prepare a new warrant to search the crawl space, they arrest Gacy on a marijuana charge, and he ends up confessing to murder. When they had him in for the interrogation, he proceeds to not only confess to the Piest killing, but all these other cases that no one even knew about. He made a map of where all the bodies were, all the bodies in the crawl space, and labeled them.
we go to the house and to start digging. One of the evidence technicians, almost immediately, he saw some telltale red worms. These are usually around decaying flesh. So he started digging, and he hit a bone. He dug around it, came up, it was a left femur. He dug some more, found another bone. Again, it was another femur, and it was a left femur again. So we knew nobody has two left femurs. So kept digging, found a third femur.
All told, there were 29 bodies found on Gacy's property, 26 in the crawl space alone.
Some of the victims, according to the coroner, were probably still alive when he buried them, just unconscious. There's a couple of pictures showing a death face, if you will, and it's probably when they came to and sucked air in, and all they sucked in is dirt and probably suffocated.
John Wayne Gacy was indicted for 33 murders and qualified for the death penalty. Though he already confessed to the killings, his defense was not guilty by reason of insanity. And by the time he went to trial, he was denying murdering anyone. He didn't like it when his attorney said that our client is insane, because by saying he's insane, it would be like you're admitting that I did it, Gacy says. And so I don't want you to claim that I'm insane at all. I'm claiming I am innocent. I had nothing to do with this.
I just remember when my brother's name was mentioned in the courtroom, Gacy giggled.
The verdict was guilty on all 33 murders. I said, I'll see you at the execution.
Years later, we will set up a satellite interview with him, and we beam him back to the FBI Academy. Gacy got him on screen, 300 police officers and FBI agents in the audience listening, waiting to learn something profound from him. What he does is he never missed anything.
Do you feel there's any possibility that there could be a possibility of insanity, something that you just can't remember here? You're totally denying the crimes.
I've looked at the individuals constantly. I have done studies with them. None of these people ring a bell with me. Okay. I've never had no nightmares about any of them.
Everything he said is a lie, and his total lack of empathy for the 33 young men he murdered is staggering.
John Gacy was executed at Stateville Penitentiary on May 10th, 1994 by lethal injection.
He is dead. He got his just desserts punishment, and justice has finally been served.
Whether they were runaways or hustlers or whatever else he wanted to claim or not, they were still people. They were loved. They did not deserve to be killed.
When you see the crimes that Gacy perpetrated, these people aren't like monsters. They look like us, but why are they different? What makes them different than us? With Gacy, he could live kind of a dual life. He could be a businessman by day, and he would be this predatory serial killer at night.
They just say, well, Gacy says clowns can get away with murder. And that's all they want you to believe is what they want to spoon feed you.
He really had two distinct lives. One is this professional businessman, family man, member of the JCs. But then he had this other side to him. So he can really separate these two lives. It is one of the most horrific cases that I had ever been involved with.
the streetlight.
Oh, yeah.
We often expect that all these violent offenders are these rough and sinister looking characters. But in fact, one of the most dangerous criminals I had ever met looked so normal and ordinary.
Is he coming over here? Start the car.
Start the fucking car back! Oh my God!
Who would ever believe that New York City, the toughest city in the world, would be brought to his knees by a pudgy plain postal worker from Yonkers? Meet the son of Sam, David Berkowitz. My name is John Douglas. As an FBI agent, I studied hundreds of serial killers and talked to many of them face to face. When I joined the FBI's Behavioral Sciences Unit in 1977, my job was to decode the minds of America's most notorious serial killers using a brand new approach called criminal profiling. Officers from all over the country, they're bringing in cases. How can we understand the cases if we don't talk to the bad guys? This study was about understanding different patterns of criminal behavior. The purpose of the interviews was to learn from the offenders. We realized that we got a gold mine here. Y plus how equals who. No one had ever done that before. David Berkowitz was a serial killer operating in the late 1970s in New York City. He put the fear of God in that entire city for over a year.
He killed 6 young people and wounded 7 others.
I interviewed Berkowitz. He was only in prison for about 2 years. And it was at Attica Penitentiary. We just were beginning our serial murder research project. We were out to interview 36 serial killers. The reason Berkowitz was a good study for us is because really the information that was coming out about him.
David Berkowitz says that after dark, this peaceful stretch of greenery turned into a temple for him and 21 members of a cult that called itself the 22 Disciples of Hell.
At first, Berkowitz said a 3,000-year-old demon dog made him kill. Then, rumors emerged that his murders were inspired by Satanism, as did theories he wasn't the sole shooter.
But a horrible possibility still remains that the police only cracked one part of the case, that other Son of Sam killers are still lurking on the loose.
I was one of the first to sit down with Berkowitz, nicknamed the Son of Sam, to get to the truth before he had time to change his story.
In 1976, during the reign of terror of David Berkowitz, the Son of Sam, there were approximately 1,600 murders in New York City. 2019, with 1 million more people in New York City, there were only 318 homicides.
Crime had surged wildly. The South Bronx was deteriorating a lot. You didn't exactly feel that safe going out.
It's amid this crime wave that the Son of Sam commits his first shooting.
On July 29th, 1976, a young woman named Donna Loria, 18 years old, she was in a car in the Bronx with her friend Jody Valente. A man came up and pulled a gun out of his bag, and then all of a sudden shots were fired. Donna was hit, and so was her friend Jody. Donna died. She was the first victim.
No tangible clues like DNA or fingerprints were left at the scene. But 3 months later, the shooter strikes again.
The second attack occurred in the borough of Queens. It's a different borough, different precinct. Carl De Niro and Rosemary Keenan were out on a date late at night, parked in a car.
October 23rd. It was started out typical Friday night. Rosemary, I met her in college. We had gone out a few times, nothing real serious, just, a couple casual dates. I was leaving for the Air Force in a couple of days. She wanted to see me before I shipped off.
How long will you be gone?
Well, Air Force basic training is about 8 weeks, I think. And you have the individual training.
Don't suppose they'll let you keep all this?
We weren't making out for long. Next thing you know, it sounded like the car exploded.
Go! Now! Now!
I was shot in the top of the back of the head. My long hair was holding in the blood from the head wound that I didn't even realize I had. Rosemary wasn't really hurt. She had a few cuts on her hands from the broken glass. The only recollection I have is the visual of broken glass. I didn't see anyone.
Because Carl didn't see anyone, it would later make him question who shot him and why. As for the killer, had he shifted his MO from women to couples? Police didn't think so.
Because Carl De Niro had shoulder-length hair, it's believed the assailant thought he was a girl. The targets were white females. I'm not saying that males were not a victim, but the target was white females, and they had long brown hair.
And so began to see what I would call more of an assassination style of killing. Serial killers, first of all, they don't generally use a handgun at all. He also never even checked to see if he killed his victims. He just took off. Most serial killers have physical or sexual contact with their victims, but not Berkowitz. It was one of the things that made him harder to catch. He seemed to leave no clues behind.
The third shooting happened in Queens, in Floral Park, only 8 blocks from where I was living with my parents and my brother and sisters. So we really got scared after the third shooting.
This attack in November '76 was followed by more shootings of young people in January and March of 1977.
The fourth and fifth one occurred in the same precinct, and both bullets, it was revealed, they came from the same gun.
This was key in linking all those previous murders together. What's going to bring them together will be the round that was used. That and the gun itself.
The gun that was used was a .44 caliber gun. .44 is a very powerful gun, and in fact, there's a tremendous recoil.
The type of weapon used by a killer always tells me about their personalities. With Berkowitz, it's like the killer was compensating for some other feeling of inferiority. This powerful weapon, does this guy think he's the next Dirty Harry? Before he was known as the Son of Sam, the serial killer had another nickname.
The news media, they referred to the shooter as the .44 caliber killer.
I think the size of the weapon speaks to how powerful he wanted it to be, that was important to him, that he makes up for his inadequacy, that he's not going to be outdone.
And I believe Berkowitz's inadequacy and why he started killing stems from the events in his early childhood. Berkowitz was born in 1953 in Brooklyn, and at a few days old, he was given up for adoption. As he grew older, he liked women, but most didn't seem to like him. He always wanted to know who his biological mother was and why she made that choice.
him in.
David Berkowitz was adopted. He eventually tracked down his biological mother. She was living in Queens.
Can I get you a tea?
No.
Or a water, anything?
I'm fine. Thanks. Always wondered what your house would look like. It's nice.
Thank you. We try.
She told him about his origins.
Where have you been staying?
And I don't think he was very pleased to know that his biological father didn't want any part of him.
David, I didn't. Your father, he didn't want a child. We weren't married.
Not to each other, anyway.
That's right, not to each other. It was complicated. I want you to know how hard it...
You must be David. I'm Rosalind. Hi. And Mom said you were coming by today, so I wanted to come meet you. I hope that's okay.
Mom?
That's right.
He sees that his half-sister is there and realizes that the mother has taken one of the children and not him. He's hoping that she will take him in, and of course she doesn't.
I got two boys, so you're an uncle. You could meet them sometime if you want. I heard you're quite the baseball player. Donnie, my son, he loves baseball too.
It was a rejection by women as well as rejection by his biological mother that was the precipitating stressors that set him off.
I have to go. It was nice meeting you both.
At age 23, in 1976, Berkowitz was ready to take his anger to the streets.
People were fearful. This was the era of the discotheque, but the streets at night in Queens and Bronx, where this occurred, were pretty much deserted at night.
Once we learned that the killers seemed to be targeting mostly young women with dark wavy hair. At that time, I had dark wavy hair, so I started pinning my hair back, wearing it in a ponytail or a bun. A lot of people were petrified, including me.
The question was why? Why young women with dark hair in couples and lovers' lanes? The answer came when I met Berkowitz. It was a twisted form of revenge that stemmed from his days in the military. He'll go and be sent over to Korea, and he will have his first sexual relationship with a prostitute over there. I said, well, how'd that go? He says, well, he got an STD. As he was telling it to us, it made him even angrier. He had never had any heterosexual relationship whatsoever. Through high school, before he went into the military, he had some dates, but nothing amounted to anything. So to get that disease, it just fueled the fire, fueled the hatred that he had. And even after the police organized a task force, this hatred showed no signs of diminishing.
In April 1977, a young couple was shot to death in their car back in the Bronx off the Hutchinson River Parkway. And their names were Alexander Esau and Valentina Suriani. They were young. She was a college student. He worked as a tow truck operator.
Set the fucking car back! Oh my God!
This really sent the city into a frenzy for multiple reasons.
The killer left a letter addressed to Captain Joseph Borelli, who was assigned to the task force.
Go out and kill man, Sam. I am the monster Beelzebub. I love to hunt.
And in it he said, I am the son of Sam.
When
At the end of the letter, the killer said, "To the police, let me haunt you with these words. I'll be back, exclamation point. I'll be back, exclamation point. Bang, bang, bang."
I am the monster Beelzebub. Yours in the blood, Mrs. Monster. I am the son of Sam.
It was taunting. It was sort of challenging the police, catch me if you can.
This was the first of a series of letters that the killer wrote. They helped fuel the multiple killer theory that surrounded Berkowitz, based on the fact that the handwriting in each didn't seem to match. I wanted an explanation. Why the block versus this other kind of legible handwriting? So because it was much more sinister.
The newspapers started going crazy with this story, and this killer was front page news.
When he started this, he never thought he'd be Son of Sam, terrorizes New York City. Remember, the bad guys reading the newspapers, the bad guys watching television, and the bad guys listening to the radio. So that is fueling the fantasy. That's getting him off. And so he does not have to go out. We have this cooling off period. After a space of 2 months, Berkowitz struck again.
There was another shooting in June of 1977 outside a disco in Queens, in Bayside. And a long-haired girl was shot, Judy Placido, and she was with a friend, and he was shot. And now we have shooting number 7, and still no killer in custody.
Police didn't know it yet, but he also had another pastime that gave him great pleasure and eventually tied into his satisfaction over the murders he was perpetrating.
He had committed over 1,000 arsons. He started out as an arsonist.
Berkowitz went back to the scenes, whether the homicides or with the fires. There is this sexual connection. In his fantasy, it's just power and control. Scenes just like the street corner where he shot Carl De Niro. It's a week after Carl's shooting, and we're back at the scene of the crime. And Berkowitz has returned to fuel his fantasy. When we interviewed him, he said his problem was he was obsessive compulsive, involved in masturbatory practices all the time. Why? Because he was fantasizing about the cases he perpetrated when he was on the loose. This is a perfect illustration of his insatiable need to reinforce a sense of control and power. This insignificant nobody was evading the whole NYPD while sneaking around and setting fires at his crime scenes, then satisfying himself and illuminating the thrill of his kills.
The number of tips that came in were voluminous. There were 7,000 names had been submitted by the end of July. It was a very slow process, very frustrating process, and it was difficult, to say the least.
With every murder, Berkowitz was reveling in all the attention. This is the Bronx post office, and David Berkowitz works here on the night shift.
There you go.
I lost count. How many is this now?
This was where he would get off on listening to people talk about the latest Son of Sam shootings, and he loved that. It filled a psychological need he had to relive the crimes.
My wife just chopped up all the hair, dyed it blonde. Won't even go outside after dark.
Maybe they'll catch him?
They're never gonna catch this guy.
Bite your tongue.
I'll see you later.
All right.
With exactly 1 year since the first murder approaching, tension was high.
Donna Lauria's murder. She was killed July 29th of 1976. As the first anniversary occurred, the concern was on July 29th of 1977, the Son of Sam would strike again.
But he didn't strike on the anniversary. He waited 2 extra days.
He fired late. July 31st, 1977, Stacy Moskowitz, who was blonde, was in a car in Brooklyn, a borough that had never been targeted before.
Not unlike other serial killers, Berkowitz tweaked his MO just a little bit to keep getting away with his crimes.
Before Stacy left her house, her mother says to her, "Stacy, be careful." Stacy says he doesn't shoot blondes. And reportedly, Stacy says before she leaves to her younger sister, "What are the odds of me being shot by the son of Sam?"
They were near the service road of the Belt Parkway in Brooklyn. The shooter fired into the car, Stacy Moskowitz was killed, and Robert Violante was rendered legally blind.
Something precious was taken away from me, and nothing ever, ever can bring it back to me.
Then the city just went into full-out chaos.
The front page of the New York Post said, "No one is safe from the son of Sam."
A lot of pressure on the police to solve this. What happens, like in so many of cases like this one included, you have to wait for a mistake. A mistake is made. A dog walker on the night of the Moskowitz shooting said she saw a man holding what she thinks was a gun. Moments later, she heard shots fired, and she saw a car that seemed out of place. There is something in the scene that proves pivotal in catching this guy. It's not eyewitnesses in the apartment. It's the ticket he got from parking near this fire hydrant.
The car that was connected to that parking ticket belonged to David Berkowitz. He was 24 years old, and he lived in Yonkers, which was just over the border from the Bronx.
Police wasted no time checking him out. The killer's ego had gone unchecked for so long, it made him sloppy. Outside his Yonkers apartment, police discovered Berkowitz left his car unlocked, with a gun tucked away inside. Police stake out the car and wait.
I observed a male come out of the building. I jumped out of the car, took my gun out, ran down the sidewalk as fast as I could to confront Berkowitz before he had an opportunity to get his gun. I took my gun, I put it on top of the window and screamed, "Police, don't you move your hands." His response was to smile. First thing Berkowitz says to us is, "Well, you got me. What took you so long?"
You got me. Police say those words ended the biggest manhunt in New York City history with the capture of Son of Sam.
Police found in that car weapons and also a note that indicated that he was going to head out to the Hamptons, which was a real hot spot for young people in the summer, and he was going to shoot up a disco.
If we would have not caught him that night, and the following weekend, it would have been a bloodbath in the Hamptons. We go into the apartment. I got the chills that night. I got the chills now. You walk in. You have holes in all the walls. Those were holes made by Berkowitz to stop the voices from coming out of the wall. Whoever lives in this place is very, very disturbed.
We all thought he was crazy. He claimed that his neighbor's dog told him to carry out these killings. The neighbor's name was Sam. So that's when we all thought, okay, that's where the name comes from, Son of Sam. He claimed to think that the dog was demonic and had cast a spell over him.
We took him from Yonkers Police Headquarters that night to New York City Police Headquarters. I drove the car, then out of the blue, Berkowitz says, "Hey guys, I guess the press is waiting for me at New York City Police Headquarters with their cameras. Can you do me a favor? Can you comb my hair?" There's a man who's killed and destroyed the lives of other people, and he's concerned about his hair.
On August 11th, the day after his arrest, he ended up admitting to all the shootings, and he would later officially plead guilty.
Three judges sitting in Brooklyn State Supreme Court heard David Berkowitz plead guilty to 6 murders he committed when he walked the streets with a .44 caliber gun. Those same 3 judges will be back in that courtroom tomorrow, this time to hand down the sentence to Berkowitz.
When I sat down with David Berkowitz, he was at Attica Prison. He was serving 6 consecutive life sentences. I had a lot of questions for him. Every time I do an interview, I try to structure everything, furniture, whatever. In prison, you're kind of limited. You know, you got bars, you got cinder blocks around you. You don't want to block a door, you don't want to block a window. And the reason being is psychologically you want them to feel that there is some type of an escape. As I began to talk in this verbal foreplay, he's looking at me and he looks at my partner and looks at me. He wants to know if I'm BSing him at all. But I take out a newspaper and it's headlines. I said, 100 years from now, everyone will know you, David Berkowitz, the son of Sam. And he relaxed, and I began to hear part of This Is Your Life, David Berkowitz. He started to bring up the 3,000-year-old dog. And then I looked at my partner, and we started laughing, and said, David, come on. What 3,000-year-old dog gave you these commands? He started laughing and joking. It was a bunch of BS. He told me there was no demon dog, and I had a feeling that wasn't the only lie circulating in the media. A rumor emerged soon after the killing that he wasn't the sole shooter. The idea that Berkowitz was part of a group has persisted to this day.
When I saw the papers and I saw the photograph of David Berkowitz, my reaction was, I can't believe this is a serial killer, because it didn't look like a serial killer. I really don't remember that much. I didn't see anyone, but I believe that David Berkowitz did not shoot me. Comparing the person they arrested to the sketch that the police showed, this doesn't look like the same guy. I happened to meet one of the ballistics detectives that worked on my case. And what he told me was that a 90-pound weakling or a woman shot me.
It's pretty common for eyewitness sketches to look different. And though I can't comment on why a certain detective may have suggested otherwise, I can tell you after spending hours talking to Berkowitz, I was convinced he was a sole shooter. You just have to sit with David Berkowitz for a couple of minutes to realize that this guy, he would not be the type of person that if I was the leader of some group, I would dispatch him to go out and perpetrate crime in New York City.
I'd never thought David Berkowitz had assistance on these murders. He was a loner. He didn't join groups. Nobody had been in his apartment during the time of the murders, and he became reclusive during this time that he was doing the killings.
He is extremely shy, extremely asocial, very, very inadequate in his personality.
This is somebody that kind of has the two sides of him. David Berkowitz was someone that wanted notoriety.
I'm sure he still has secrets, but he's not sharing them. He may take some of those secrets to his grave.
There's no doubt in my mind, David Berkowitz is the only one that did these killings.
More than anything else, Berkowitz loved notoriety. He savored the recognition. When I interviewed him, he got off trying to tell me that he was one of the world's worst serial killers. But at the end of the day, he's just an inadequate nobody, desperate for attention.